Hi, my name is Nima Nabili. I'm a director, cinematographer and a music video producer and director. I'm based in Adelaide, Australia, and pretty much anywhere else in the world where the work takes me and where there's interesting projects to do. My history with film actually starts before I started creating music videos. I did a university course, started in year 2000 and finished in 2005. And there I directed some films, some short films. Then when I graduated in '05, I began directing other short films. I was shooting as a cinematographer, various projects. I was shooting short films, little documentaries, commercials of course, corporate videos, you name it. And then in about, I think it was the start of 2009, when I started shooting and directing music videos. And that's when it all kind of started from there. I started with local productions, as everyone does. I remember it was hip-hop music videos that I started with, and I was doing them with friends, people I knew, just directing kind of smaller projects. And then once I'd done, I think about 5 or 6 of those, I started moving on to slightly bigger projects, and word of mouth kind of got around and people telling each other about the other videos that they had seen, and it kind of just kept going. And it's still like that. It's still just word of mouth, and I don't really kind of advertise myself or anything. It's always about when people see the work and they come to me if they like something that they saw, and then we just create new projects. Music is such a huge element and such an important part of my life, and so is cinema and film. And if you put the two of them together, you get music videos, and that's basically why I love creating music videos so much. I think there's something really interesting and different about creating something visually that also has music as such an important element and part of it. And I think it's the way I see it is kind of creating little short films, but music driven, of course, and it's quite exciting. I've done music videos in a whole variety of different categories and genres. I've made quite a lot of EDM music videos for artists like Martin Garrix and Oliver Heldens and Tiesto. I've done house music with artists like Clapton and Watermat. I've done hip-hop, especially Australian hip-hop. I've done a few videos for All Day Now, Dialect and Despair, Funkors. I've also, as a DOP, worked on most of the Fundamentals music videos. I've done quite a few Australian pop music videos, of course. I've worked with artists like Dami In and Justice Crew. Also recently I've been working with a lot of indie artists who are independent or signed with smaller labels in different genres, electronic to rock to alternative pop. Artists like Favourite Nations, Luke Million, Fortunes, Hearts, East, all those kind of up and coming, more interesting artists that I really like working with. I actually wasn't watching or taking reference from music videos when I started making music videos. It was actually mostly film and a lot of cinema and listening to music rather than actually watching music videos. So music videos wasn't what inspired me to create music videos. It was actually cinema and film and music itself. But in particular, I have to say that Stanley Kubrick has always been probably my biggest influence, and it's somebody whose work I always go back to. I'm just absolutely enthralled by watching Stanley's work and the way he approached the work more so than the work itself, and the level of detail and attention that went into his work. I don't think I have a preferred method when creating a music video. I think each project kind of has its own rhythm, and I try to go with that and kind of have a different approach to every project that I work on. But I guess my something that I repeat in my work all the time in terms of my approach is thinking visually, of course. And the way I like to work is kind of be a little bit more, I would call it organic, which means to be a little bit more freestyle in terms of the way I create. So rather than over planning things and kind of overthinking it in my head in terms of creating, you know, elaborate shot lists or storyboards, I don't think I rarely actually ever do storyboards. I of course do them in my head. I think of key shots, key elements to a particular scene or the entire clip, and I of course have key shots in my head. But I don't usually put them down on paper unless I'm asked to by the label or the artist. And that kind of helps me be a little bit more freestyle and kind of jam, so to speak, on set, and just kind of use those kind of interesting accidents that happen a lot on sets, you know, those kind of unexpected things that happen to my favor, and kind of, you know, if I see an interesting light, or, you know, a model is looking kind of interesting in a certain kind of angle, or just anything that catches my attention, I'll go with that and I kind of create something around that. And that's kind of my preferred method. Of course, there are projects where you have to be absolutely kind of locked into certain kind of storyboard or shot list or way of doing things, and I'm also totally happy doing that as well, and I do it all the time. But my preferred method would be the more organic approach, and I think some of the best work that I've done has been using that method and kind of allowing myself to kind of be in the moment and just kind of feel it as I go and do that. I guess if I was going to think about a dream that I would have in terms of music videos, it would be to actually create music videos that are not just that. They're not just music videos, but they are bigger than that. So my aim sort of in the next 2 or 3 years is to create, I guess what I would call hybrid projects where music and fashion come together, or music, commercial and fashion come together. The project becomes more than just a music video, but it's also, you know, it serves as, could be a campaign or a lookbook for a particular fashion label, or it could be branding for a commercial brand, but it also features the music as its heart, and it promotes the artist that the music is from, and to kind of put the content side of things into the music video world and vice versa, and to kind of create these really interesting, I think a lot more interesting hybrid projects than just a music video. Well, I'm in Morocco at the moment. I'm traveling the world, taking some time off, but working on kind of, you know, good, really interesting projects that come through at the same time, and meeting new people, meeting potential new clients, and meeting new directors and new music video directors that I'm signing up to my company YBY. And every country that I'm going to, I try to make 1 or 2 music videos there if I can. So we just did one in Paris for a house producer, and I'm about to work with Ninja Tune, which is quite exciting because they're one of my favorite labels. And after that, whatever project comes my way, I'm sure it's going to be interesting, and I look forward to it very much.
Je vous aime pour moi.
You for myself, don't want My name is Patrick Telfer. I'm from Adelaide. Probably started shooting on... I got a touch phone before anyone else, and I started shooting videos on that, I reckon. For my bands, for songs I had, just for fun. Probably for other songs that are, other people's songs that I liked and wanted to make weird videos to. When I lost the cable for the phone, I would film on something else that I was able to get into the computer. I'd film the screen of my phone onto that. But I started editing. I was playing probably with GarageBand or iMovie or whatever, and then I got the better programs and just learned how to use them. I'm in a band called Bitch Prefect. I made a lot of clips for them. Another band called Peak Twins. I just watched one by World's End Press. Scott and Charlene's Wedding. Many different bands from Adelaide and Melbourne. Usually my own stuff more so. I made one for a band from Adelaide called Men with Chips recently that I really like. I think that's a good one. I think the ethos of making the clips and not hesitating, just getting it done no matter what. Not hesitating because you don't have the right light, or people get held up in the gear or the technique that they learn from someone, or the way that someone says it should be done. But you can really do it. You can make it happen if you set out to do it and just don't stop until it's done. And it will happen in some way, and it will be much better than if you hadn't done it, I feel. I've gone into big film clips, relatively big film clips, and tested out some lasers and shot a laser into the sensor of a VHS camera, and then had little dots on the screen the whole time that I couldn't get rid of at all. YouTube is really good for that. I learn a lot from watching people's screens in Premiere Pro. Anything you can't do, you can learn to do there, and then you can forget it. Often, like clips that I made, particularly when I was starting out, I didn't film with a song in mind. I just filmed until I thought I had enough footage, I suppose, or until the time called to make a clip, and then I'd go back and see what I had. But as time goes on, I've done them definitely more planned, but it is often just a case of experimenting, like giving yourself access to the tools with which to make decisions. Not often would I reflect the lyrical content of the song visually on screen because it seems too direct to me, but I am very much interested in cutting and editing and creating motion that goes with the song. I get wet. I really get wet layering lots of takes, shots on top of each other. I like that. I like getting the same shot and delaying it a little bit and layering it about 4 times so that it has an effect that looks very cool, I think. It's like trails. It makes trails. Perhaps you could do the trails. There's a Silly Joel and the Candyman clip, which does that very well. I did spinning around, and I was spinning around this big warehouse where we recorded the music and made the clip, and I overlaid that a bunch of times with different lights and things, and it really just lost all sense of what it was. What's something that I'd like to try in a clip? I'm really into the idea of doing things with lots of scope. I'd like to use lots of people. I find the idea of using more people to be interesting because I like the idea of people acting in ways that they are either just slightly different or vastly different from how they normally would. And I feel like there's having large groups of people, the opportunities to create bizarre circumstances are many. Generally, when I'm filming, I don't use orchestrated subject material. I tend to film people unawares. But this is not necessarily through choice. I don't often have the budget to access large numbers of people accomplished at acting, and for whatever reason I don't seem to be blessed with friends as such. They look better when they don't know, or they're not thinking that it's going to be for a finished product of any kind. The largest amount of people I've had to coordinate. We've done clips where we've simulated parties. My partner Luke Byrne is someone I should definitely mention. He kind of taught me a lot of things and helped me to make myself appear somewhat professional to some people that got us and myself a little bit of video clip work. He's a very accomplished photographer and hustler man who runs a website called The Adventure Handbook. He has quite a wonderful aesthetic, if you ask my opinion. He's definitely helped me to become more clear about the structures of thinking about aesthetic in my mind, because he is able to provide examples and then break down the methods required to achieve those examples. My family has a farm in the Flinders Ranges where I like to go and record music occasionally, and there is a problem within the farm of feral goats, which are monitored occasionally by motion sensitive cameras that a friend of my father introduced into the lands, and I found a file somehow. I got my hands on all of the photos, and I noticed that there were thousands, and thought immediately that there's only 25 frames in every second of video footage, and that I could probably make something interesting out of the movement. So I created a stop motion animation with which to promote the song. The favorite clip that I've made is one of the most recent one, called Ardrossan by Men with Chips. And that was very collaborative. Joel Robertson, the singer from the band, came to me with fully formed idea of what he wanted, and I was able to help him achieve that task with aplomb. It's the most interesting and entertaining, and definitely, has been one of the most creatively satisfying ones so far for me, in terms of being able to have a somewhat narrative plot devised and plan on doing that over several days and locations and with several people, and to be able to pull it off and make it happen to some extent was very creatively satisfying to me, therefore making it my favorite video clip of mine.
Whale! Heavy on, save it! Tato in the cold. What about old Tato? She's stuck on